Over the past 23 years, Sid Walker has coached over 3,000 financial services salespeople. In every case, he has made a substantial contribution to helping people get past the psychological barriers that were keeping them from achieving their goals. Sid's style is down to earth, and his ideas are easy to understand and easy to put into practice right away. His presentation is entitled How to Develop Client Trust, Loyalty, Unsolicited Referrals, and a 90% Closing Ratio.
So did you ever notice that it's easier to make sales calls on some days more than others? Yes. Okay. Does anybody ever hesitate or maybe sometimes avoid making sales calls altogether? Like we call it it's prospecting calls basically, but it's if you think about this, it's like what are the main reasons we don't make those calls? Anybody have a thought about that? Yeah.
Fear of rejection.
Fear of rejection. Great, thank you. Anything else?
Fear of the unknown.
Fear of the unknown. Good one. Anyone else? One more.
Basic lack of confidence, self-esteem issue.
Okay, lack of confidence. So fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, lack of confidence, and there's lots more. So what do you suppose is the cause of those fears?
Insecurity.
Insecurity, sure. Though I won't make you work too hard at this because this is a little different perspective than you're used to looking at or thinking about. But you ready? Yeah. It's going to surprise you. It's being analytical. All you have to do to have some kind of hesitation or call reluctance or some kind of avoidance to making calls is be analytical, which we all have to be. Okay? And you think about it, so what is that analytical perspective? We learn it in school. Our job is to get the right answer. We take tests, we try to get the right answer, and if we get the right answer, things work out. Okay? And so we patch that over into our sales career and go, okay, if we say the right thing, if we do the right thing, if we do this correctly, everything's going to work. Guess what? That's the worst possible perspective you could be in if you're going to prospect. Okay? And that's where most people get into trouble. We all like to default to that analytical model, and yet what we need is a different approach. And so if you're to think about that analytical approach is zeroing in on a narrow perspective. Okay, so the opposite of that would be a much bigger perspective. So what do you suppose some words might be for that bigger perspective? And again, I won't make you work at this too hard because it's something I've spent a lot of time figuring out. But let's say if you go from the narrow to the big one, some of the words I like, I'll give you one phrase. This is the one that seems to work for most people. It doesn't matter what happens on any one call. Okay? It doesn't matter what happens on any one call because as soon as it starts to matter what happens on any call, you're going to find something else to do. You're gonna get hungry. You're gonna need to organize the office. You may decide the car needs to be washed. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going to happen. And of course and a lot of that we don't even realize. One of the things I like to call it is some of us even get prospecting amnesia. Okay? We forget that prospecting is the most important part of our job. So what I like to do to help people get into a mode where they're in that bigger perspective is do what I call a warm-up. And one of the ones we'll do here today, everybody have some dice? Okay. So here's the game. We're going to roll the dice, and 7s, 11s, and doubles are appointments. Okay. And so you've got a sheet there. We'll do it 10 times. And here's how we'll do it. I will say a reason not to make a call. Okay. Then you repeat that, and then roll the dice. 7s, 11s, and doubles. Right. All right. Here we go. Number 1. I need to be totally prepared to make this call.
Totally prepared to make this call.
All right. Any appointments? All right. See how easy this is? Okay. All right. Number 2, it never seems like the right time to call.
It never seems like the right time to call.
All right.
Wow.
One time I drove by a bar. I'll never forget this. And there's a sign out in front of the bar that says, free beer tomorrow. This is the free beer tomorrow one. I can make these calls tomorrow.
I can make these calls tomorrow.
All right, we got some appointments. I can hear it. Number 4, I don't want to hear another no today.
I don't want to hear another no today.
Okay. Number 5, I'm not sure what to say to this person.
I'm not sure what to say to this person.
Okay. Now, are you notice? Do the dice care what you're thinking before you roll them? No, they don't. Because the whole idea here is you want to start getting the idea that this is how you detach from what your thoughts from what actually happens, because if you can detach and have no expectations, that's the mental or the mindset that you want to have when you're prospecting. To get rid of your expectations. Number 6, no one answers the phone anymore. It's all voicemail.
No one answers the phone anymore. It's all voicemail.
All right. All right. Number 7, I don't have time to prospect.
I don't have time to prospect.
All right. Now think of your favorite hobby and fill in the blank. I would rather be.
Running.
All right. Okay, and this is a special one for you innovators and rebels out there. I know we have a few in the audience. There has to be an easier way. All right. Okay, and for you experienced people, I know we've got a bunch of those. I've paid my dues. I shouldn't have to make these calls. Okay, so count up your appointments. All right, anybody not get any? We have a special prize for you. It doesn't happen that often, but okay, all right. Talk to me afterwards. It doesn't happen that often. All right. How many got 2? 2 appointments? Okay, good. 3? Bunch of 3s. 4? Good. 5? Wow, a bunch of 5. 6? Some 6s? Any 7s? 1 7? Okay, you know what we say to you. It's Las Vegas is not that far. Today's your day, okay? Yeah. All right, so the idea here is, you detach from the results. You want to be able to warm up. You want to be able to get out of that analytical state and get into that bigger perspective that allows you to not have expectations. So you want to get the dice out, roll them a few times before you pick up the phone or before you go out to see somebody, just to remind you that you're going to make appointments if you just go see people. Okay, and stop. And don't be careful that you're not talking yourself out of making the calls. I have thousands of people at this point that have dice on their desk just to remind them of this today. And of course, if you're helping people invest their money, it's a little scary to your clients at first, but they get used to it after a while. So. All right, one other perspective that I like, and actually this is one that I carry with me. See that SW there? Okay, SW happens to be my initials, but I think it was Zig Ziglar that originally came up with that. But SW stands for some will, some won't. So what? Okay. All right. That's another good one. Let's see. Another one I like is prospecting or making calls is a lot like dieting, exercise. Okay, it takes extra effort, but you'll love the results if you do it. I remember I had a gentleman one time that said to me that he prayed every night for a year that he'd want to get up the next morning and go jogging. Never happened. Okay, he never wanted to get up. He went anyway, but he never wanted to get up and do it. Okay, so prospecting is the same kind of thing. And see if I can think of any. There's one more. I think we've got a second for this. A friend of mine, one time he's done extremely well in the real estate business, and I asked him one time. I said, How have you done this? I mean, just incredible success. And he thought for a minute. He said, well, there's one thing I'm really good at. And I said, what's that? And he said, well, I have learned to be able to jump off the cliff and learn to fly on the way down. Okay? So to some degree, that's what we're after here, is to be able to jump into it. Because really the only way that you could fail at prospecting is not to do it. Oh, thank you.